Khanderao ji, what an incredible event today and what a great turnout.
Thank,
How did you do it?
thank you. So this is the work of hundreds of delegates from all over USA. They are passionate about Indo-American issues to make the influence result into some sort of a impact. Uh, the Indian Americans has not been that much active into electoral, into the influence on the policy and advocacy space, interact with the administration, making the difference into. So they are into their own community, but that we create a awareness that it's very important that we need to be present. We need to make sure that our elected officials they listen to our viewpoints, our issues, and reflect on that.
Absolutely. And it was reflecting in all their speeches, like all the members of Congress, even Secretary Bethany, everybody stressed on how important and critical US India relationship is. With all of that being said, Khanderao, do you think are we in the final stages of the trade agreement?
I think as US-India relations has been both bipartisan agreed that most consequential relationship. India is definitely emerging as an economic powerhouse. It is rising to the third largest economy. US is the largest economy. So of course these two economies need to work together, and both of them have a vibrant democracy, a value-based society, lot of commonalities. So that is where on the world stage, this partnership is a very important one. That's why the trade agreement, defense agreement, technology, manpower or the talent sharing, all these things are possibilities, not just for the bilateral benefits, for the entire world. Both the countries working together definitely would establish a long-term peace and prosperity in Indo-Pacific region. India also emerging as a leader of global South, global East. US has a wider interest in all over the world. US has been for last 50 years in the world stage. US has established a order, a discipline that definitely with India's emerging role, it will take a long way.
Absolutely. And this year, FIIDS picked up 5 policies that pretty much addresses a wide spectrum of issues. What work and research has gone behind the scene, because you came up with detailed justification, bill numbers, and there is so much that has gone behind. Please tell our viewers and how the team put together all the effort.
So the Foundation for Indian Diaspora Studies is a policy institute and awareness platform. So we have two wings. The one wing is focused on research. It does widespread of research. It does the congressional policies and bills. We also look at the outcomes of the think tanks. We interact with the think tanks. We also look at the how administration's various positions are there. We to do the research on the how the pros and cons on each of this. We are representing interest of Indian Americans. So we are in that perspective, what is good for the America. And of course, in that perspective, we strongly believe that being strong India, strong US-India relationship is always good to be good for American interests. So America will have a stronger partner on the world stage. So with these beliefs, this our researchers, we have a team of fellows or the experts who guides that. We have team of interns or who research, and that we have team of business or the policy analyst. They do these papers together, do the research and all, dive deep into that, look at both, evaluate perspective, both positive, negatives, and select the topics which are interest of Indian American point of view. So it is not limited to just US India, but it covers wider topics like say Indo-Pacific. Definitely over there India is the most important player in that region, but we also cover the topics related to immigration, which is Indian, those who come in United States, their issues are there. Then Indian Americans who strongly contribute in the economy of this country. We also bring to the attention of the elected officials and administration of their contribution. And in the light of that, whatever the issues, small or big are there, we try to surface to that thing. And finally, there are issues which beyond these two countries, if we really look at it, is a critical mineral, which is a critical for the global stability. The stability because the defense, space, even any electronic development, EV, all this depends upon the critical minerals. And it is going to be difficult for the world if this critical minerals is not accessible for the world. It is right now 80% of such resources is controlled by one country, which is not a democratic country. So it is definitely a danger for the world stability point of view. So that's why we got the issues. They're not just related to say Indian Americans or US India or this one, but it goes beyond, because these are the interest of Indo Americans, and Indo Americans can have viewpoints on the broader topics and this one. But there are interests could be on the like for example ecology, energy, climates and all that thing. But we need to prioritize them because we are limited strength. So we then prioritize the topics which can be relevant for our influence point of view.
Absolutely. And lastly, what message would you like to give to the young generation, Indian American young generation?
So I would say that learn, engage and do the impact. So we have to learn how the things work. We have to learn what matters. We have to also learn the techniques. We have to be engaged in all this, whether it's a policy matter, elected officials, whether administration, we need to be engaged into that. And that's how we can lead and do the impact.
Thank you so much for orchestrating such a magnificent event. Good luck for FIIDS.
Thank you. Since morning 8 o'clock to up to 4, even 5 o'clock, we had nearly 100 plus interactions or the meetings that we hosted, both in Congress as well as in the Senate. We met, for example, Senator Indy Hyde, met the Congressman Tom Moore, many also elected officials, their staffers at Bhime Penata, and from all over USA. 150 plus delegates from 25 different states participated. So the idea is that we get a team of say 5 to 7 delegates from the state. They meet their elected officials and other elected officials from the state to explain the issues that are important from Indo-American perspective. In Congress, there are a lot of bills and resolutions get introduced. Almost 300 bills and resolutions it gets. And many times there are, most of Indian Americans are also not aware about any of them. Forget about their impacts unless someone reports it. So FIIDS as a policy institute keeps on monitoring various resolutions, bills introduced. We also monitor works of think tanks. What are the positionings are there on various issues are there. We also engage think tanks on a regular basis, having the round tables and come up with a position that from Indian American perspective, that what are the issues important to us. Annually, during the Capitol Hill, we compile various bills are there, the resolutions are there in Congress or Senate, which are important from our perspective. So this year, we identified around 38 resolutions, which are one way or another connected or of our interest. We group them together. Out of them, we needed to prioritize because when we meet two elected officers, this meeting is 30 minutes, so we have to explain them what are the our top priorities are there. Then we select the five of them. Out of the all this, we clustered into 8 different topics and then selected 5 topics of our interest. And during the day, we discuss those issues and give our positioning. It starts with Indo-Pacific region. The supply chain is very important. It as I uh, one of the population, one third of GDP, 11 trillion of the trade flows through the Indo-Pacific region, and most importantly, a semiconductor industry, all the high-tech industry also heavily depends on the goods or semiconductor chips manufactured in the region. So safety security of that region is very important. At the same time, concern is always there that Chinese expansionist, Chinese Communist Party's expansionist agenda has been always the issue or the danger from US point of view. So we identified some of the issues related to that and discussed that. They are wide ranging. They are ranging even the issues of subsea cables. You know that the internet cables go from intercontinent and they go under the water. So there is a danger they can be cut off. There are ships that are built which can cut off there. The modern warfare are not just into the Indo-Pacific in the maritime, but it also space. So there need to be a special focus into space operability, interoperability, and coverage into that region. So there are some issues that we raised around that. Of course, strengthening Quad from security framework point of view as well as trade point of view. So those are the things that we discussed. Lot of elected officials are very much aware about the dangers and interested to work on those. So that is a very positive and encouraging news. We also discussed today is that US-India partnership, which is one of the most important. Last year also what we observed, and this year it's a bipartisan agreement that this is the one of the most consequential relationship in this century. Understand that India is rising. India is a defense point of view, from economy point of view, the rising to the third largest economy. But most importantly, from value point of view in international work, there is a commonalities there. There are both the democracies, a lot of things they can deliver and give to the world. So there is a good bipartisan agreement is over there. However, we also understand there is a lot of issues that needs to be tackled or addressed, and one of that is could be export control, defense related. So we discuss issues like say the defense partnership, then relaxing some restrictions that were there, or it could be the technology related partnership. So those are the important discussion we could engage in. Again, it's a very positive encouragement here. Of course, there are some few people are still discussing or have think that when this trade agreement will get finalized, it will be smoothening. This little bit friction might be there in the system. So that also feedback we heard. Of course, those are the things are beyond our thing, but we getting the feedback that there is a genuine interest from both elected officials that this relationship can be a very positive on the long term for the world point of view. And then it comes to the welcome Deputy Assistant Secretary Bethany. So I'm just outlining what we did today in the whole day. So about 150 delegates from 25 different states. The whole day we met about 100 elected officials, and we had our men, women, young youths, very vibrant atmosphere. But we systematically had the discussion. 30 minutes is discussion is 5 categories. We started with supply chain resiliency in Indo-Pacific region. We discuss about Indo-US relations.
We also discussed about critical minerals, the importance of the critical minerals, because it is a 80% of the critical minerals are controlled by the resources and everything by China, and it has the huge impact on technology, defense, space uh, for the world, but most importantly from US point of view. So there is a lot of initiatives there. Crack Silica is there that President Trump and administration had invested heavily, almost like a 10 billion into that. Also uh, brought the framework of Crack Silica, bringing different countries together. However, our interest was that the Congress has a bill, both Senate and House, which actually predates to Crack Silica, and it is this is kind of framework for Crack Silica, but that needs to be codified. So it is once it's codified, then it remains there beyond the administrations. So it gives a consistency in the long-term frameworks, and so we had the good discussion over there. In fact, critical minerals 2 years back we had first time raised it. When we raised it that time, most of the elected officials were not much more aware about this. But then from last year, the trade friction, all that thing, it started, and this year 8 different bills or different forms are there in the Congress. So we had a good discussion on that, but there is a lot of progress needs to be done. In case of supply chain, we also this year discussed IMEC, the importance of the IMEC, which is the India Middle East corridor, and there is a one resolution over there to establish a strategic framework around that. Of course, Middle East the friction may little bit impact those things. And then we finally went into two domestic topic of Indian American interest. One is the reforming legal immigration, and another thing that Indian American, as you know, that 1% of Indian American are there here. They contribute to 5% of the taxes. If you look at from businesses point of view, hotel industry, 60% of hotel motel are owned by Indians. Around 10% of physicians are Indian background. In the technology, there is a 1 in 4 startup Indian technology professional is there, who is a founder. Patents are also almost like say 10-15% patent are actually filed in the huge Silicon Valley. And coming from Silicon Valley, the Indian is Indian technology professional. But so we saw some rising anti-Indian, what New York Times call it as a H1 racism, and then also some of the bias. So we also surfaced that it is not to a degree that it's really a problem in the day to day, but signs are not positive. So we needed to create the awareness about that. And then finally we discuss about the H1B related some of the frictions, particularly visa appointment delays are happening, which has caused companies like Microsoft, IBM, and etc. Uh, to give the recommendation to H1Bs not to travel, particularly if their visa is around the expiry and they need a stamping and on that. So we discussed why this issue. We had a good discussion, lot of positive feedbacks, some feedbacks, so we'll be doing follow-up. So on this background, I just wanted to conclude that this is one of the very successful at Capitol Hill Day that we hosted. And today, since in the beginning of the day, because there is a voting going on, so 6:30 to 7:15 there is a voting going on. So almost there was a rush of the elected officers starting from the program was supposed to start at 6 o'clock. So 10 minutes before that, we had Senator Rajan Marshall, and then like Brad Sedman and others. They kind of were lined up into so where and because the voting is going on. So that's the we are very happy to see all the elected officials coming up. So now we have fortunate to have Ambassador Kampaji and also Deputy Assistant Secretary Bethany, and I would like to invite Deputy Assistant Secretary Bethany to help us.